Hello, welcome to another edition of the Talking Basketball podcast. I am Mark.
I am Paul. Welcome to this week's update.
BBL Weekly.
BBL Weekly, yeah.
BBL Weekly.
There's so much to talk about. If people don't know, the day we are recording this evening, we've been keeping one eye on the London Lions women's team in the Eurocup final.
And
there's great news. What a result.
What an absolute result. 81-70.
Yeah, I mean, in the first leg of that, it was a 7-point deficit. So, you know, what an achievement. And I mean, that must have been towards the end of the game, where it's like 4 points. That's 2 baskets. It's nothing. But what an achievement for them. What an achievement.
Do you know what the only thing is? I struggled. I know you had a quick look. Trying to find the actual box score. Like we like looking at a box score, and you know, credit to the British Basketball League, they have the box score and you can go look and see who's done, what the stats are and stuff. It's not, I can't see that at the moment. So I don't know if I'm looking in the wrong place or where it was.
No, I'm having the same problem.
Three out of 4 quarters, they dominated by between 7 to 6 points and 11-point win. But this was on aggregate as well, Paul, wasn't it? So they lost the first game, didn't they, by, was it 7?
7. Yeah, 7. But you look, I mean, just look at they came out fighting in this game.
Yeah.
You know, by the end of the first quarter, they're 1 point away from that deficit, 1 basket away from that deficit. And you know what? I got to say this. Really proud to say one particular player is Faye Dean, who's from Portsmouth. She grew up in the Portsmouth area. You know, Simon Coteau brought her up with the Portsmouth basketball setup and stuff like that. And it's just a really proud moment for Portsmouth basketball, as well as the Solent setup, Solent Kestrels, to say that there's a European champion from this area.
Yeah, absolutely.
What an amazing thing to say. We have a women's European Cup champion.
Yeah, that's fantastic. And, you know, all credit to her for all the effort she's put in and to get to where she has. And that ladies' team, I mean, the domestic league, they've absolutely flattened. And then they've gone to Europe and they've just kicked people around. It's brilliant to watch. Great fundamental basketball. Really enjoyable that they've done so well in, I won't say like a short period of time, but you know, they've brought this team together and then through the season they've developed and then come through to the other side.
And they deserve to defend that.
They do.
They really deserve to defend that.
That's
I don't know what's
going
to happen now they've won it, but I know there was all the talk where they're not going to progress with that.
Nope.
And there's lots of I don't know what the word it's fluid with the teams that go in the European Cups, but yes, if you win it, man, I think that I'd like to see the London organisation support that team to try and defend it. That'd be very cool.
First British team to ever get to a finals, and then the first British team to ever win it.
Yeah,
you have earned the right to defend that. 100%.
Yeah.
100%.
Maybe the win will change that stance. Maybe the win will change the stance.
The fact that you got to even to that point in the competition, the fact you got to quarterfinals, you're not them. And that's when this sort of information was going out that they're not going to do Europe. And you think, whether there's a cost or not, it doesn't matter. If you've got the best team in women's basketball in Europe, why are you then pulling it? That's nonsense.
Yeah.
So, you say, the season is 3-4 months away. Before they make any decisions, maybe, who knows? They could get big sponsors come in and say, we're going to back you. That, like, money talks. Anything can change over that night. But that is, for this point, congratulations to them, because that is a well-deserved achievement.
Yeah. And a huge congratulations to Portsmouth and Solent. We've got a European champion
in our midst.
And let's see what the future holds. But Mark, I got some huge update news for you as well.
Do it.
this will shock you, and
How
I
shocked
gotta
will I be?
say, you'll be shocked, and then you'll laugh. But I want to say, I don't know even if it was this year, you were mocking me when I told you
I've
I wrote.
I've done that every year I've known you, so you're going to have to be more specific.
I wrote a lengthy email to Sky Sports. Remember that?
Your granddad email, yeah.
My long email with a couple of
Dear Sky Sports, I'm not happy with the way you're
with a couple of
representing
improvements I
basketball.
thought that could be made. Mark, I didn't get a response to that, but I have had a response from a certain point of view. Now, one of the things I had a gripe was with when you went to look to sports and you went on all sports, there was NBA and that was it. You didn't have basketball, and then basketball got broken down into BBL, NBA, WNBA, and stuff like that.
Yep.
That change has been made, Mark. I've made a dent. I've made a dent. So that the show has made an improvement nationally.
Yeah, you're welcome, everyone.
But I did like that. I mean, the only thing I'd like to make that step even more, where it breaks it down and says BBL, NBL Div 1, 2, 3. And then I would love for the articles, especially for the BBL, to be more regular, because it's usually like one every 2 weeks, kind of from what I remember.
I mean, on this Sky one here, just looking at that you've got one article here that's January sort of time, then the next one was 2002, then 2003. So the way in which it displays it, it's not very filterable.
Well, that says to me it's been a recent change that they've made. But I am filled with a bit of hope, because that was a random thing that I just noticed the other day, and I was like, wow, that's something I actually put in the email. So I'm gonna take full credit for that change, and that's a great change. I love that change.
So who are you writing a letter to next?
Who's
getting the next letter?
I haven't decided, Mark.
Some might say you're like Andy Dufresne.
Yeah, I'm just keep writing letters.
Keep writing those letters, and eventually
I have a load of library books.
But that's good.
No,
I've
got a few more emails that are going out, so hopefully we're going to have some huge guests, because some of these emails are going to some big names, so current names as well. So let's see what happens. But I just wanted to highlight that, because you mocked me in front of our 60,000 audience listeners, and
I'm still gonna mock you. It's just too funny.
There has been an impact and a result from my lengthy email. So yeah, moving on quickly. Can I have a clap, Mark?
You can. What am I clapping you for?
We're that time of the season.
Yeah.
Where we're getting to a conclusion of the regular season, all throughout the country, and you got to give a huge shout out to the Derby Trailblazers.
Yes.
Clinching the NBL Div 1.
Yeah, they did that pretty emphatically, didn't they?
Well, I mean, it went down to the last game of the season as well. They were fairly dominant at the start of the season, and towards the end, the Essex Rebels really started giving them a scare. And at one point, they had a game in hand. Sorry, Derby had a game in hand, and they had to win both of those games. And by winning both of those games, they would then win the league. Now, fortunately, I think their results against the Rebels were in their favour. So they only had to win these two games, and they were playing mid-table teams. It literally came down to a weekend game on Saturday, game on Sunday. Both were at home as well, so they had a good run for that weekend. But look, all credit to them. It's not an easy feat to win the NBL Div 1, and
now, do you think? So, congratulations, to the team, no question. Do you think it should be a position where they now get an option that they could go into the BBL? I'm just let's take
No,
venues, let's take
no.
those sort of things aside.
No, because I don't think you can take those things aside. You need a bit like what Paul Blake said. You need the foundations, you need the stability, you need the financial stability. You know, a lot of the teams in the NBL are, I don't want to say university, but they're young teams that have like a university associated with them, or maybe another team associated with them, and that's how they're building up those players. To then, like, if you had someone like the Solent Kestrels 10 years ago, or whenever that was, when they won 4 NBL Div 1 teams in a row, and they have a venue of 600 capacity, yeah, that's more, should be considered, I think. But I think when you have a team that wins, you know, maybe getting, I don't know, 300 to a home game, and it's at a university. I'm not sure. I'm not sure like that. I think Paul Blake was talking about that there's got to be like a club to get into the BBL has to have complete stability, because otherwise, if you go on Google and type in BBL, what am I trying to say?
What were you searching for that started with BBL, Paul?
BBL all-time clubs. It will be something around that, like or BBL awards, and it will have like in order like the most prestigious awarded club, Newcastle Eagles, and then work your way down. And Portsmouth are in there. I think Portsmouth are like 16th, 17th, 18th, something like that. And if you look how many of those clubs no longer exist, that says to you,
they have the little asterisks, don't they? Yeah.
Why what Paul Blake said about stability is absolutely vital. Otherwise, yeah, you could get these teams going the BBL, but they might, you know, be gone in a few years' time. But look, you got to say a huge shout out to the Derby Trailblazers, and you know, congratulations to Matt Shaw. Matt Shaw's head coach up there. So yeah, he'll be pleased. Really interesting in an interview that he said that he really values the winning the league more than anything else.
Oh, really?
And I'd love to ask him the question. Next time I see him, I'll ask him the question about the league against the playoffs.
Okay.
I'd love to get that answer from him. But, you know, he looked pretty happy. The team looked pretty happy. So, you know, huge congratulations to them. It's no easy feat. And, yeah, well done.
Yeah, that is really, really good. I'll definitely get a round of applause for that.
Mark, I've got another congratulations as well.
Another? Well, you're just full of positivity today.
It's going off topic, though. It's going way off topic. But it's very closely associated to us.
Okay.
So I'll only say it for 20 seconds and I'll go off. So Havant Rugby Club.
Yep.
Right near us have just been promoted to the National League.
Oh, really? Congratulations,
yeah, to the
Havant.
National League.
I mean, they've always been a pretty good team locally, obviously.
Yeah, they're back in the National League now. So I think that's the 4th rugby tier. So that's a great achievement for them. And yeah, you know, we went to school with the manager there, so he was really pleased. And I loved the fact that when I saw him, we were talking about it. They had to a result had to go their way for them to win the league, and that other fixture finished 30 minutes after their fixture. So they won their fixture. Then they sat in the changing room for 30 minutes waiting for the other game to finish. And when it finished and they knew the result, then they could start their celebration. But saw the celebrations as well, looked great. So big shout out. I know it's a different sport, but it's close to where we are. And, you know, we got a few associations with people in that club. So Havant Rugby Club, huge congratulations for
fantastic.
that promotion as well.
Yeah, very, very good. Oh, that's great. That's really, really good to hear.
And we're approaching now the playoffs, the National League playoffs, in the BBL and in the NBL. So it's all kicking off this weekend with the quarterfinals.
It is all
well, not in the BBL, but in the NBL, it's kicking off with the with the quarterfinals, and there's some ones that stand out in Div 2. Obviously, we're going to keep an eye on the Solent Kestrels. Hopefully, they will do well. But also the Milton Keynes Breakers, who actually won the NBL Div 2 South. They're taking on the Teesside Lions, and the coach for the Teesside Lions is a guy called Serge, who used to be one of the coach for Portsmouth. So we're all hoping he's going to do well there. I mean, it's a tough job he's got, finishing Div 2 North. Sorry, in Div 2 North, finishing 4th.
Yep.
And then taking on the Milton Keynes Breakers. That's going to be a hard ask for him, but best of luck to him. Hopefully, Serge, huge shout out. Hope you do well on that.
Yeah, good luck, Serge. I mean, yeah, Milton Keynes are doing pretty well, aren't they? They're on a bit of a roll. Very strong team indeed.
Yeah, indeed. But it's all starting to kick off now. So yeah, Mark.
So we're
BBL.
BBL. So we're coming to the, coming closer and closer to the end of the regular season for the BBL. I think we've got 3 weeks left. I want to say actually it's maybe 2 weeks left now. But what's funny is I at first thought, are teams going to be playing? That's one of the real big interesting things I wanted to see.
They have to.
Because they want to fight for that positioning. Well, some of these games, the way that the positions have jostled in the leaderboard, you start looking at it thinking, oh yeah, you don't want to be 8th. Because if you're 8th, you're playing London Lions first round. And then if you're 2nd, you don't want to be 7th, because then, and vice versa. So you can look at the matchups and see where people are in the league. If you look at the league and go, oh, you don't want to be there. So some of these games have actually flip-flopped, and there's one team in particular that's, with Plymouth and Manchester this week, it's fair to say, where they're both out of the playoffs. They've flip-flopped. Plymouth have been at the bottom for most of the time. Now at the moment, it's Manchester have been the bottom, thanks to their sort of playing this week. But what it's actually done is it's helped the other teams bolster them in their position for the playoffs. So I genuinely thought when we're coming to the end of it, we know who's at number 1, and the others seem to be kind of where they are, but there has been movement. So I think this.
But that's the thing. Sorry, Mark. That is the thing. Like, we all look at London. Yeah. Take out London. So from 2nd to 8th, any of those teams, I think, can beat any of those teams. I know we're looking at Cheshire and Caledonia in particular, going, that they're going to be fairly dominant. However, I still think anyone from 7th to 8th can take those guys on. And it does look maybe the Scorchers or Bristol will be taking on London, but they're vying to take on London, so they want to get out of that 8th spot, so they have that potential running. But this is the other thing that I think is really integral, is that the top 4 spots, which is so important, because I'm not sure if people are fully aware, but the league, I don't know if this is a recent change. I think it is a change. Maybe it's a change where it's been done it. So if you're in the top 4, so there's 3 games in the round, and it's obviously first to 2 wins. However, if it goes to a 3rd game, that 3rd game is played at the home court, whoever finished 1st, 2nd, 3rd and 4th. So that is going to be absolutely integral to those teams getting to the top 4. So London, obviously, Cheshire and Caledonia. But when you look at the rest, it is like you've got Newcastle, Leicester, Sheffield, all going for that 4th spot. And that's why, with those teams going for it, and then, that 8th spot fighting for that one, that's why no one's taken their foot off the gas.
No. And that nicely leads us into going to first game this week was Bristol Flyers, and they were playing at home against Leicester Riders, and they won. They took that one, and they absolutely took control of the game immediately, straight out the gate. They were really, really coordinated, quite deep shooting. I would say Samuel Adu from the bench did very well from Leicester's point of view, because he came off and he's kind of closed that gap, and you thought, oh, okay, Leicester's a strong team. We know they've got the talent that they can take it through. But so that was the first half. Bristol were leading by 9 points. You think, well, that's kind of a surprise. Maybe home court advantage plays a big difference. We know it is quite important for most teams. But going back through the second half, Leicester just struggled. Like, you had Jermaine Holmes coming back. He added some energy. And offensively, they just couldn't quite keep the pace. And this is Leicester we're talking about, who are very fast-paced as a team normally. They just couldn't keep up. Bristol were really great on the defending, and they rebounded, and they were plucking out some good numbers. I think it's 51-44, any sort of comeback going into this like final key end part. But it was Kedrian Johnson. He's, for me, was the standout player. All-round performance, made out like instrumental, scoring efficiency, playmaking. He was just a presence on the court, so he totally won that. But there was also a really interesting thing. The Flyers, their coach, and I've got to get this right, Coach Kapulius, I've got to get his name right, pivotal win, and that was his 300th game milestone with a victory.
Wow.
That's pretty cool, isn't it? If you said, I've got 300 games as a milestone in the victory, that's a nice way to win out. So Bristol, of course, as you said, they're fighting in that 7th and 8th position. This game,
but there's only one game in it. There's one game in it.
This was
with them and Surrey.
And this is a game you would have thought, Bristol against Leicester. I don't really think so. This was one they needed to win to make that. They jumped from 8th to 7th with this game. So that made a really big difference there. And then the next game came along, Plymouth versus Manchester. Now, normally you'd think Plymouth and Manchester, they're the two at the bottom. It'll be quite a tight game. No, it wasn't a tight game. It was just, there was snaps of it either way. I saw personally that game could have gone Plymouth's way. It could have gone Plymouth's way a lot earlier. But they just, I want to say they fumbled it a little bit. And they let Manchester stay in a little bit too long. And then Plymouth put the foot down. And you won't get anything from that. The Giants did like let me check this, 8-0 run in the fourth quarter. And you thought, oh, are they going to come back? But then the Patriots just pushed them back and held on to the win. But you just think a 61-45 by the end of the third. So you're going into the fourth with a pretty big lead, 16-point lead. Going into the fourth, you think, I'm okay. And they push back that much. As soon as if you're a coach, you're thinking an 8-0 run, you shouldn't let it get to that stage. That should be, all right, they've had a 4-point. Oh, now they've got the 6th. That's a timeout block. What are you doing? Press them, do something. So there were a few, questions on that. But what was interesting there was that was against the Giants, who are now, because Plymouth beat them, they flipped round and they're at the bottom. So again, it's another thing in the league. They're both on 32 games played for the Patriots, 33 games played for the Giants. So because they've played more games, they flip down to the bottom. They're both on they're both on 7 wins.
Yes, they're both on 7 wins. They both played 33 games at the moment. So I think they're joint tied. It must be on points.
No, Plymouth have played 32 games, not 33.
I think they might have been. They might have played tonight. They might have played tonight.
Possibly. Possibly there was a game tonight. Yes, it is. In fact, it's going on right now as we're speaking. So that's maybe.
Yeah. So I think the league I'm looking at is doing it in real time.
Okay.
Which is a little confusing, but
yeah, that is. I was literally looking at this snap. This was before the game started. This snapshot, so that's probably why. But more to the point, moving on, Cheshire versus Surrey Scorchers. What would you think the outcome would that be if you say Cheshire and Surrey? Is that going to be a blowout game?
This is difficult as well, though, because
in Cheshire.
Yeah, you'd probably look at Cheshire, but I mean Surrey are fighting to get out of that 8th spot. So yeah, you'd think Cheshire would
So
would do well. There've been a lot of away wins throughout the league.
So Cheshire
recently
trailed 16-11, and then they started. Maceo Jack, massive 3, narrowed the gap, and then at the end of the half, Surrey extended their lead to 45-33 by half time. So Surrey were ahead. You think, what? Why? And Cheshire was struggling. They just couldn't find that form. And
have no fear, Mark. LaQuincy Rideau is there.
Yeah,
have no fear.
Absolutely. His 3-pointer cut that lead, pushed them back through, and then in the final minute of the game, he scored 7 points. The final minute.
It is clutch. They should just call him Mr. Clutch.
32 points, 12 rebounds. I mean, that's insane. Like, you go, we've got 1 minute left, 7 points. Thanks very much. It absolutely dominated that game. But it's fascinating where Cheshire are in the league, number 2, and then you look down and go, why are they struggling at Surrey Scorchers, who are in number 8?
But Cheshire got a lot of players there. They've got LaQuincy Rideau's at the top of a lot of
Skylar
the
White
records for this season. Aaron Ray.
Yep.
He's got the best free throw percentage, I believe, in the league at the moment.
Good lad.
You've got is it Maceo Jack?
Yep.
Maceo Jack. I tell you what, I'm going to actually give you, so LaQuincy Rideau, he's top of steals, assists. You have got Aaron Ray, field goal percentage, he's top with 56.6.
That's awesome.
Maceo Jack, he's had 95 3-points made.
Yeah, he's the 3-pointer.
They're a good team.
Yeah, just a little bit. But the fact that they were down so much at that point, and then they had to fight their way back against Surrey, and this is their home game. It's not a game at Surrey. This is a home game for Cheshire. You got to give Surrey credit. They're really punching for every time we can make a win. That's going to get us closer up that ladder. That's going to get us away from London, because at the moment they're in 8th. They're playing London. So anything they can do to win will make that difference, especially as obviously Bristol were playing and Bristol won their game. The next one, you think, we've got to win this, which sadly they didn't. But I've just mentioned London, so I'm going to slide into London Lions. Playing the Copper Box, and they played Bristol. It was a convincing win. It wasn't even, the Flyers started strong. They came out early leading, but the Lions had a 16-point deficit. It was just second half, Lions just put the foot down. Olasini's scoring, playing, he just kept the Flyers sort of there, but they weren't getting through. They weren't getting through the Copper Box. There's no chance. What it does is that loss, though, basically put them from sort of 6th place finish, and then they went 2 behind. Then they went 2 behind again with Sheffield Sharks, which meant they've only got 3 games left, and they're battling to stay above Surrey. So that game was really hammered because Surrey had lost their game and they thought, we're in the clear here. But that points difference and everything comes into play if they're all going to start drawing. So, but having London at that point in the league has probably made them struggle, I think. But we'll see. Stand-up player was Olasini. Just absolutely impactful. 21 points, dominated rebounds, and the Lions have got such a deep team. It's very easy to go this person or this person or this person, but he absolutely played a treat on that game. So full credit to them. London just showed.
Yeah, I think his shot percentage is really good as well. Been pretty consistent throughout the whole season.
Yeah, he's been really, really good. And do you know what? He doesn't get talked about as much as some of the other players do. It's very easy to say, look how good Matt Morgan is. And it's like Olasini's a really, really solid player for them, and he has been. But, maybe we'll see more of them in the future, and certainly when the playoffs are in. So...
Well, Mark, he's I would say there's only one Jordan Johnson.
There is
There's
only
only one Jordan Johnson.
Yeah, that I would agree with that.
Why do I say that? Do you know?
Because there's only one person called Jordan Johnson.
Jordan Johnson for the Newcastle Eagles has scored more free throws than anyone else. And I know you like your free throw shooters.
Oh, I love that. So hang on. Let's just clarify. Has he scored more, or has he got the best shooting percentage?
I don't know. I'll find out for you who's got the best shooting percent. I'd imagine there's probably quite a lot of players who have got 100% shooting percentage, but they've only scored like to one shot or something like that.
Yeah, they've just got an and one, scored it. That's 100. Would you rather have? I got fouled and then I got both buckets. I've got 100%, or would you rather have? I've got 75%, but I've scored 12. What would you rather have as a stat? Would you rather have the higher number or the better percentage?
I don't know, mate. I don't know if I care.
I'd have percentage all day. I'd rather have the better percentage. It's like,
it depends how many you're taking. I suppose. Like, I mean, I'm just looking at now. You've got 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 players in the BBL who have got a 100% free throw percentage. So you absolutely love those players. However, when you look at someone like Maceo Jack, he's got 95% free throw percentage, and he's attempted 80. So that's the
star. Yeah, there's the star right there.
That's a real good one.
Yeah, that's the star. I mean, you've got 80 attempts and he's on 95%.
Yeah,
he's probably
Jordan Johnson has hit the most. He's hit the most.
That's brilliant.
There you go, Mark. I know you love your free throws.
I love it. Okay, look, I'm going into the next game, and this is the big one. I think this was the big one. Caledonia Gladiators versus Cheshire Phoenix. That was a big one. And the reason it was big is because at that point, Cheshire Phoenix were above, and then the Gladiators are coming up behind them. And you think, well, surely Cheshire above, they're going to do well. We've seen what happened when they played Bristol, and they struggled. So when you're going against Caledonia, you think Caledonia have a good chance here to maybe get some wins in, because if they can get these wins in, this could take them to second place. So Cheshire started really strong, quickly took the lead. Ethan Chagwa scoring early effectively, but Caledonia came back with Patrick Whelan and Quaid Green. And Quaid Green, to me, is a very exciting player. Like the last couple of games I've seen him play, outstanding. Like, he's someone I'm going to keep watching. And as not just a player on his own, but the way he fits in at Caledonia, they have absolutely, I think with DeBois out, they have absolutely landed on their feet having him. Because he only came in sort of fairly recently into the team. But he got their gap coming closer and closer and closer. And if you think the Gladiators are level with Phoenix, and it was like a 21-12 record I think they had at that time. And so the race for second place was really, really who's going to win this one is going to really set that scene for the second place. So when we go back into the second half, it was more like Clifton Moore Jr. keep the Gladiators in contention. Green was constantly scoring. Aaron Rye and Maceo Jack were really, chucking the buckets in. They were doing their part, but you got to the end of regulation. Critical three-pointer, and I had to write this down. 0.2 seconds left. EJ Stevens.
Wow.
0.2 seconds.
That's you can't catch. You got to get it in the air.
That was a three-pointer, and it led to tie the game and put it in overtime. So, regardless of what he does next, he's like, I've done my job for tonight. That's it. Now I could just trip up, or I could just sit on the bench. I've kept us in the game and put them into the overtime.
Sorry, Mike, who was that?
EJ Stevens.
Ah.
So he put that, and even though Cheshire were leading by as much as 16 points during the game, they brought it back to that tiebreaker. Went into overtime. Green and Fraser took over with the Gladiators. Malcolm, massive rebounds. Massive rebounds. And then there's a couple of little, what do you call them, putbacks. There's a couple of those as well from, I think it was Green. Again, just making themselves known. And you think, God, they'll be killing themselves because Cheshire should have been getting those rebounds. But Gladiators seem to be a really tall team and a big team. And they just, yeah. Anyway, fantastic.
I like the way the move Quade Green did on Aaron Ray. When he does this little spin around. So Green comes in, he goes around, and Rye's kind of like turning around like he's not sure where the ball is. It just made me laugh kind of moment. But
do you know what Quade
yeah,
finished on?
he had a solid game.
Do you know what he finished on? 37 points, 8 assists.
Mark, look, I'm in the northern studio, so I got to keep my voice down. But you need to give that what it deserves.
I can't do that, but I can do Aaron Rye, 26 points and 10 rebounds. That's Aaron Rye. I mean,
I feel like I need to shout that one out. Damn.
Well, EJ Stevens for Cheshire, he also contributed, clutch 3-pointers, sending them to overtime, 15 points contribution. And, you know, arguably the most important 3 points being the one that took him in. But Caledonia not only highlighted that Quay Green, it's not only how incredible he is, but that set the performance and set the stage for that battling. Because again, second and third, both teams are why they should be the contenders. Points differences, hardly anything in it. But at the end of that, you are now looking at the league, and I'm literally refreshed it so I can see. Cheshire, 33 games played, and 22 points, or 22-1. Caledonia, 33 games played, 21. So at the moment, literally, if Caledonia get another win,
they're all fine
and
for
Cheshire
it.
don't, that's it. It's all.
They're all fine.
And then I imagine it might come down to the head-to-heads, which could be a real decider.
Can I talk about my favourite player for the Caledonia Gladiators?
Do it.
My favourite player for the Gladiators, and there's a reason why this is Fraser Malcolm.
Why is that? Rebounds.
He's a young guy, and he's from the area. And we've talked about it before. I think we talked about it off air, where we love players who are from the area, then get into the squad and
oh yes, yeah.
Build that way. But in particular, he started playing for a team called the Falkirk Fury. Now I follow this team on Instagram. And the reason I follow Falkirk Fury, I actually follow anyone with a team name of Fury, because obviously I played for the Portsmouth Fury for a long time. So any team, you got the Falkirk Fury, you got a few teams in America called Fury. Interestingly enough, the ones in America actually copied our logo. Many years' time, then we changed it, then they changed their logo. I think it might be a university team now. But anyway, Falkirk Fury, I've been following them for a while. And I love the fact that when he got into the Gladiators, I saw, he was a Falkirk Fury player. So I just kept one eye on him. And, you know, that the homegrown talent that he's got, you know, it's not escaped the fans, and they're all seeing it. You know, he played exceptionally well, and it doesn't take much effort to see him with a Scotland jersey.
Very good point. Yeah, that's really that's great to see. There's a trajectory to get into that top flight from being local.
Yeah, so he's it was good to see him playing really well in that game. And he's just I'm reading this now. I love this language they've used in this article here. He's a consistent threat on both ends of the floor. Love that.
Yeah, that's how you want to be described as a player.
Actually, no. Look, I'm going to go in for he's a consistent threat on both ends of the floor. for both domestic and European stages. So yeah, that kind of sums it up there. But yeah.
Well, that's great. I like that. You know, Caledonia, they're doing the right things. They're doing the right things at the moment, and I think they're going to be a very strong team in the playoff. Could be wrong, but they've got some bodies, so I think they'll be tough to. You know, Cheshire have got some shooters, and London have bodies and shooters. But yeah, I think the Gladiators are definitely a team to watch for sure.
Yeah, I mean, just looking at the stats now, Fraser Malcolm, mate, 23 points and 8 rebounds, 2 assists.
Yeah.
So he is a strong player.
Nice. I like the stats like that. That's good. Right, moving on. Sheffield Sharks were playing Manchester at home in the Shark Tank. Emphatic win, 89-68 to the Sharks. They just dominated the second half, basically. Manchester just didn't turn up for the second half. By the time it was like they started off at 14, where's my note? 14-2 run. That was their first half. The first quarter, sorry. I think it's not ideal. They let them come back in. It was a 26-14 by the end quarter, but it was the Giants who were actually seems to like kicking themselves back up when you started rallying a little bit, coming out towards the half time. Second half, it was RJ. Now I've got to say RJ Ethelrock. I think I've got the name right. His baskets with Mallet Green just completely overplayed them. Jalen Pipkins, favourite of yours, his 3-point shooting.
Yeah, I love him.
Couldn't argue with that. And the Sharks extended their victory, won the final quarter, 24-8. Final quarter.
That's a bloody good quarter.
Yeah,
that's a great quarter.
And that's what I love about that is it's not just that you're scoring loads; it's you're stopping them. And that is just brilliant.
But look at the Sharks. Just looking at that gives them a 17th win.
Yeah.
They have played one more game than Newcastle, who are in 4th place. But look, they're in 5th place, like 4th place Newcastle, 17 wins.
It's ridiculous.
5th place Sheffield, 17 wins. Leicester, 6th place, 17 wins.
Yeah, so literally Newcastle, Sheffield and Leicester, they're all on the same point, all on the same amount of wins, same points. The only difference is literally Newcastle have 2 games in hand. Sheffield have 1 game in hand and Leicester are on 34 games. So
but that is what's great to see in the British Basketball League.
Constantly
three teams vying for 4th place so they can potentially have that vital game 3 home court advantage.
Yeah, 100%. And you know what? I would say this to the BBL. You do a really, really good graphic on your social media where you have the table and then you put the arrows showing where people have moved up and down and showing how much.
Yeah, that's nice to see.
I love that graphic. And if there's a way that they could put that in the standings on their actual, on the not the app, but the website and stuff, if there was an arrow just showing this is where someone's moved up and someone's moved down, because it's brilliant. Because I think that will really give fans and anyone who has a quick glance, it will show you how much that league is changing. Someone plays a game, it's changed again. Someone plays a game, it's changed again. Because there's so much jostling. It's great. It's really, really, really good. I would want to say a shout out to Nick Lewis as well, because Malek Green and RJ, they led in terms of Sheffield, but Nick Lewis, 13 points, showed some resilience despite losing. Yes, of course, we will come to that. Paul's just flashed up a bit of info. But the Sharks showed their depth, and the second half showed how they've got that depth in their team that they could be a problem when it comes to the playoffs. And because of this, as the season's winding down, it's shown that they've focused on that and they're focusing on where they're sitting in it. Now, going back to what Paul said earlier, 1, 2, and 3 and 4 will have the home court advantage when it comes to game 3 if it goes to it. The Sharks are currently sitting in 5th. So they've got their eyes on can they get to that 4th place. But if they did that, they'd have to displace the Eagles. So that's that's going to be a very, very interesting thing to watch. But so brings us to the end of that for this week. I mean, the amount of games that they've played, the amount of movement that's happened in this league, it's really exciting to see what's happening. And we've got a game going on right as we speak, which was at Plymouth Pavilions, and that was Cheshire and Plymouth, I believe. So I think that's finished now.
Yeah, just something you were just saying about that league and stuff, which I think was a really good point. The way you liked it on the app, I know exactly what you're saying. I like the way they do it. I completely agree with you. The only other thing I was going to say is they used to, all the highlights and stuff, they used to put that on the social media, and I really enjoyed seeing that. So things like the RNY, where he gets in a spin on defense. Yep. You would see that on like the media pages, but they've not seemed to have posted much and of those. No. Maybe someone's on holiday. I don't know, but yeah, I do miss that. I do enjoy that. But yeah, the thing I forgot to highlight as well is when you were talking about Caledonia, Gareth Murray, the Caledonia Gladiators head coach, has also just won Coach of the Month.
Yes, he has, and we'll give you Gareth. Congratulations for that. No questions off.
And the other thing I was showing Mark was there's some
historic
coaches, some coaches and players that I know that I'm friends with on social media, and they're there and they're just showing pictures of like the players with their medals, which includes Faye, and it's great to see there, Faye, that she's got a Champions Eurocup Women's.
That's brilliant.
Final cap on with her gold medal. Great to see. Just well done.
Yeah, fantastic. And we can only hope that they get to defend that. Absolutely. But, we're talking about this BBL and the playoffs are not that far away. I mean, I think London might still be in the final. I think that's probably a good shout. But who's going to go even to the quarterfinals, or semi-finals? I couldn't call it.
Anyone can beat anyone.
Yeah,
anyone can beat anyone in that.
Just seeing those things where you go, well, Bristol have just beaten Leicester, and you think, I'm surprised at that, because at the beginning of the season I said, yeah, 100%. But the way Leicester have played recently and the way Bristol have played recently, I wouldn't have called that. Caledonia and Cheshire, again, same thing. They're strong teams, but you're getting a lot of games going down in the BBL recently to the final minute or going into overtime. And
never know. You never know. Someone might beat London in game one. That changes everything. Now, if someone wins game one, that's huge.
Well, it was the trophy, wasn't it? London Lions and the trophy.
Yeah, look what happened there.
Yeah. So yes, they're sitting at the top, but it doesn't mean even if they get to the final, will they have an easier road? Maybe the first game.
They got home court advantage. Yeah, that's the thing. You really need to win that first game, and that's in the copper box. That's going to be hard work.
Yeah, exactly. So even if you didn't and you won the second game, you go, great, we've won our home game. Now you're going back to the copper box again. It's going. All right, I've already lost one here. I'm going to come back here. It's one apiece. That will be tough. So arena does definitely play into it. But I think it's going to be an interesting end of the season, for sure.
And is that the BBL all wrapped up? BBL Weekly?
It is. BBL Weekly, all done and dusted.
I think you can't not mention an update. We had an episode with Adam Riabi, and we were talking about like college basketball and stuff like that. And at the time, we were in the Final Four. So we really got to update everyone, Mark. So the University of Connecticut has won the men's title. They beat Purdue. Purdue had Zach. I don't know how to say his surname. Zach Aday.
Yeah, I think that's it.
And he was one of the more. He's a big guy. He's as big as Shaq.
Yeah, he's a big dude.
There was a great moment at the end of the semi-final after he won. He walked off, and Shaq was in like just near the changing rooms, and he said something like, "Good game, big fella," or something like that. And Zach turned around to him and was like, appreciated. It's an honor or something like that. And it just looked like what a great moment those guys had with each other. But I think people were looking at Purdue to get the win, but Connecticut did it. And then when we go to the women's side of the basketball, I mean, I don't know where you've been in the world if you haven't heard about Caitlin Clark for Iowa in the final. But you got to hand it to South Carolina in particular for the way they defended her. They just took her, especially in the second half. They just took her out of the game. And I feel like I'm being out of order saying this.
No.
Oh, screw it. Who cares? It just felt a little bit like Iowa were one-trick pony. And it was like, it got to a point where she was shooting threes, and they just weren't going in.
Oh, they did. No, they were, 100%.
And it was just like, okay, like I haven't looked at the box score, but it just looked like South Carolina's defense just absolutely just took her out of the game. But also in the women's game, I just want to also highlight again the University of Connecticut that lost to Iowa in the semi-final and in the Final Four. And the reason I want to highlight them is you've got a in the men's side, University of Connecticut are the champions. Well, I know that's the double. They've just won it 2 years in a row. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, they have. Yeah.
Yep.
And then the women's University of Connecticut, they reached the Final Four and missed out on the final by 2 points. I mean, that university is doing something right.
Well, I said this before, like when you was getting these coaches and they're doing such huge, consistent, not only getting to the finals, getting through the quarters, Final Fours, etc., but they're producing such good talent. You've got to be looking at these coaches going, I mean, these coaches earn good money. There's no question of that. But you've got to be looking at the coaching and all the stuff. I mean, we're saying coaching, but let's look at all the people around them, all the support staff, all the assistant coaches, all of the trainers, everyone who's in physio, etc. There's so much that's behind a team. But it's very exciting watching them all. Now, did you see...
Sorry, Mark, sorry to interrupt. I just want to confirm. I just had to double check because I said it and then I questioned myself. University of Connecticut have now won it 2 years in a row.
Yes. So did you see Dan Hurley, who was the... you had Phoenix and UConn when they were playing.
He's a passionate guy, isn't he?
He's a passionate guy. Did you see him push his player?
No, I didn't.
No, it's brilliant. He runs on the court and he literally pushes him. I'll see if I can find the clip for you, but it's absolutely hilarious. And then he's arguing at the ref afterwards, like, what did I do? And it's absolutely brilliant.
Oh yeah, no, I do, yeah.
And
yeah.
it just literally goes, he steps on the court and then pushes him in the back, and the ref literally is standing there, just turns around, whistle, you, and he's going, what? I didn't do anything. It's like, mate, you walked on the court and pushed a player forward. Like, what are you doing? Surely that should. Well, the only thing I didn't like is that should be in a tee. Get out. Like, you can't do that on a player. You can't.
I think it.
If you're a coach, you walk on the court, you should be getting something. If you're getting on a court and pushing one of your players, what are you doing? Like, you can't do that.
I could be getting it mixed up. I think he's the same coach. I saw this media clip which made me laugh, where they say how to go from, rather than go from 0 to 100, go from 100 to 0. And one of the players ran up to the coach and was like, yeah. And he was like screaming, going, yeah, like that. And then turned around and went straight to 0.
Well, there we go. There's the clip.
This is your one.
This is the clip right there. Watch him.
He's on the court.
And then literally pushes the player, and the ref
in the freaking game.
Yeah, and the ref is literally standing next to him when he does it, and you're like, and the ref literally goes, blows it, and then he's arguing with the ref, going, "What? I didn't do anything," and you're like, mate, seriously? So it's like, get him out. Like, surely he should have been tossed, but
yeah, you got to argue coming onto the court. But no, and the one I said, he was very passionate with a player, like really passionate, and then turned around and went absolute stone cold face and was like, thank you for the game. Unlucky. That's quite a funny moment. But look, I mean, look, he's won the he's been head coach for University of Connecticut, and they won it 2 years in a row.
Yeah,
and
it's just odd. Just having that, you get that much passion, that's fine, but you can't walk on a court and push a player. You can't do it. It's just weird.
I mean, just go through his history. He's got a lot of positive history, is what I'd say. I know he was doing a lot of work in New Jersey.
Yeah.
Building a big program there. I think he's credited as doing that anyway. And I don't know where he went to before, but I know there was another college where he was doing very well there. But yeah, I mean, look, 2 years in a row.
But the fact
you can't argue with that.
So what he's doing is, he literally, the way he does it, the way he actually pushes him, what's quite funny is, in the clip, what you don't see, or you do see, but in the pan out, is the other coach at the other end. And when he just steps on and pushes it, the other coach is like, what's going on? Why is he pushing his own player? It's just, he's achieved all those really good things, but it's just like, dude, there's a boundary, there's a line there, like, don't cross that. Can you imagine that if you were playing and then Mick just walked on and just pushed you, and it was because he was shouting at him like, go over there. He was literally pushing him. There's that famous one with LeBron, isn't there, when he wasn't playing D, and I can't remember who it was Kuzma or something like that, and he literally got LeBron and shoved LeBron towards the defender because LeBron was backing off, and LeBron gives him the filthiest look. Funny enough, he left the Lakers after that, but
we know who's in charge there.
Yeah, exactly.
You know what, I just want to also talk about South Carolina, the women's NCAA champions. I forgot to say, they haven't won 2 in a row, but they've won 2 championships in 3 seasons. 2 championships in 3 seasons. And last season they lost to LCU in the Final Four. And they were the eventual champions.
Okay.
So it's not back to back, but I knew it was something like that. So they won 2 out of 3. And the crazy thing I heard on the news the other day is that South Carolina team are only losing 2 players that are graduating and going on. They're only losing 2 players.
Wow.
Yeah.
Whereas look at Iowa, like you've just said about them getting blocked out, because they just went, we know what your offense is, we're just going to block out Caitlin Clark and you're done.
Oh, let's see where Iowa are next year.
Yeah, very much. And
see where they are next year.
And to be fair, their opponents were physically so much bigger than Iowa. They physically were a bigger team. They just, I won't say bullied them, but they just kept Caitlin Clark, kept her in a sort of in an area. She wasn't that effective after that game.
Yeah, I'm not saying this negatively. I don't think it's just this is just a personal opinion. But for me, the game against LSU and Iowa was extremely entertaining, and the Final Four game with Iowa, who did they play? The Huskies, was it?
Yeah.
Remember Huskies? I can't remember the university. Damn it, someone's going to be listening to this shooting me. That was a very exciting game. That was 71-69.
Yeah.
So I personally enjoyed those games more than the final. It was a bit like, you want it to be close at the end. When it's 10, 12 point, you think, it's not as exciting. Not that it's not exciting. You watched it to see South Carolina get all the ticker tape paper going around, getting the trophy. I like the way they get the trophy like straight away.
Oh, it was instant.
It finishes, it's like, here it is. Bam. There's no Silver moment.
No.
It's how I'll phrase that.
So
I hate it when Adam Silver comes on. It's like, I want my moment.
Bring out
Congratulations to. I'm not a huge fan of that. I'm just like,
dust
I
off
love
the crypt
fact.
keeper. Bring him out.
Never heard that.
But he
That's a good
does,
one.
doesn't he? He's like, good evening, Fright Fangs. But he you know, he
That's it. Greetings, Frank Fangs.
hello, goyles and ghouls. But he, you know,
He does take a moment, doesn't he? A little bit of
enjoys
a
that little
moment.
thing. Well, look, Stern did the same thing. He liked his little moment, didn't he? Like when he dropped that trophy when he was giving it to Magic and stuff. But I think, and I'm not saying controversially, but think psychologically, Caitlin Clark, this whole ride, this whole build up, what she's done for women's basketball and that injection and the energy that they've created around it, and you know, not just great marketing, but done very, very well. She's going to go to the WNBA. She's going to get good drafting. She'll do very well. But psychologically, she didn't win the fairy tale moment. What does that do to a player? Because she's going to go into that WNBA like, I didn't win that.
Larry didn't win it.
Exactly. I
Patrick
think it's
Ewing didn't win it.
I think it's going to fuel her. I think it's going to fuel her because she's going to be out for, I want to win a chip.
I could be wrong. I just said something that I'm not sure. Did Georgetown with Patrick Ewing win it? They definitely didn't win it in the final year before he went into the draft. I mean, we're going back to freaking NCAA 80s. So I wouldn't know that, but I don't think he did win it. Unfortunately, Patrick Ewing, he had Michael Jordan his entire career stopping him from achieving anything as far as a championship.
Yeah, that's not ideal, is it? You go, I'm coming out in that class. It's not great.
He was in an interview once, and he said, it might have been on The Last Dance, actually. He said, yeah, Michael Jordan, he was in the Garden, and in his last game, and he scored 50. And it's really annoying because I had an absolute amazing game, but no one remembers that. They just remember he got 50.
Well, I read something today just about some shoes. Slight tangent, but the last game that Jordan played for the Wizards, the day after they were doing a game for the kids coming into the draft. And who was that? That was LeBron. And in the article, they said it was like a passing of the torch because LeBron had been playing in various types of shoes. And the article was reading about sneakers and stuff and that, which obviously shoes have been very important, not in cultural, but just with basketball and that transition. He'd gone through various other things, who's going to play for, who's going to do. Michael Jordan had some like black leather shoes made, specific, proper boots made for, I can't remember which one they were. I think they were Jordan 15s or 16s or something. But they were made for LeBron and it had King James written on it. And he gave them to LeBron in his final game. After his final game that Michael Jordan ever played as a Wizard, he gave them to LeBron, and LeBron wore those, and then LeBron signed with Nike. But before that, LeBron had played in Kobe's. He'd been playing in Kobe's Adidas shoes, weirdly enough. And I'd never realised that. You think of Nike with LeBron. And the reason I'm saying it is because they use the phrase passing of the torch. And you think you had Michael Jordan's era, then you had LeBron James's era. And one of the things they pointed out was Rondo, who is just retired, wore the LeBron's first ever shoe. He wore that while he was playing. So LeBron was only in the league. He wore them before LeBron was even playing. That's how long LeBron's been in there. He's been there long enough that people were wearing his signature shoes before he was there.
Yeah, I mean, longevity is probably the first word I always think of with LeBron.
It is, yeah. But it's just fascinating that all of these players, all of these people have done. It all comes back to not just college, but what they were doing at that sort of college time. The people like Garnett and LeBron came straight from high school, so they didn't experience college. They didn't experience Final Four, and Final Four, sorry. And on LeBron's podcast, if you listen, he was talking with him about, with JJ Redick, and he says, I always think about it. Every March, I always think I was never in March Madness. I find that so, think of what he's accomplished as a basketball player. I mean,
look at Jordan. He had one of his highlight moments. If you went through Jordan highlights, you would say that North Carolina shot would be in there at the near the start.
Yeah, 100%. And that's making of the great player before he even steps in the NBA. LeBron never had that. Garnett didn't have that. Kobe didn't have that. They came straight from high school. They never did
question.
College.
Give Jordan 4 more years in the NBA. Take away the 18 months. Oh, let's just round it up. So 2 years, he retired. And then retiring as champion. All right, let's give him another year or 2 years. 8 more seasons. I mean, all these records would look very different, I think.
Yes, potentially. I agree. But then you got to think.
I'm not taking anything away. I'm just saying I think all these stats would look very different. But you can't compare them because it's like Jordan playing in nowadays and LeBron playing back in the 90s. It's just like, who knows what would have happened.
Exactly. But that's why I love that phrasing of again, it ties in with so many interviews we've had, and when we talk up to people and they all talk about passing of a torch, where they gets to a certain point and then someone else has got to carry that mantle on. LeBron did. No one had ever been in history more hyped than LeBron. It just, he was a high school 18-year-old. Even Jordan didn't have that. He had to earn that bit to get the hype. LeBron had it since he was 16. It was insane. So he had that he's had a different trajectory to Jordan. He's had a different experience to that. And then the next person who's going to take that crown, whoever that's going to be, they'll have
LeBron's setting up. What's his kid called? Bronny James.
No,
I think LeBron's setting his kid up to be it. I mean, I never know what to believe when I'm on social media.
Wow. I think he'd love to play with his son. I think he'd love to.
Well, his son's entered the NBA draft, hasn't he?
Yeah. So, I mean, that's news we could maybe talk about, but the short version is he's entered that, but he's also entered the transfer window for college, which means that he can transfer to a better college, I guess.
Okay.
And it means that he's not mutually exclusive. He can do one or the other. One doesn't mean that he's not going to go. It doesn't solidify he's going to be picked in the NBA. He's just that he's applied, that he could be available for it.
Can I suggest
his numbers are terrible in comparison, and then especially.
Can I suggest a game?
What?
I want to suggest a 1-on-1 game.
Yeah.
Bronny James versus Caitlin Clark. Whoever wins goes to the NBA. Whoever loses has to play in the WNBA.
I would imagine Caitlin Clark would take that quite substantially. Her numbers are crazy compared to his. He doesn't have.
Oh dear.
He doesn't. I'm not saying he's a bad player, but he doesn't have the best stats, and he also had a heart condition, and all of that So he's come back. He's done well considering he's had all that happen. But
I think that'd be a good thing to watch, wouldn't it?
I think that here's the reality. We all know it. Any team that's if he goes in a draft, anyone who's picking him is picking him because they're like, I want LeBron to come play here. Because if they've got him,
we'll see.
It's the trade rights. That's what everyone would be vying for. If someone who's at the bottom, like San Antonio or wherever it may be, if they're at the bottom of the draft, they're not getting. LeBron ain't going to San Antonio or something like that, or Detroit.
We'll see. It might be trying to get him to go to LA, maybe.
Yeah,
right.
Exactly.
Right.
Well, so
what a great show.
Another great show. BBL Weekly and many
lots of great thoughts and discussions.
Yeah, we've got over 250,000 people streaming, and we can't thank you all enough. So if you haven't listened to any other episodes, go back, check them out. We've got 92 at the moment, and it's climbing every week. I have been Mark.
And I'm Paul, and we've got to do something special for the century episode. I don't know what, but something special.
Drop us a line, let us know.
And congratulations, women's European champions, London Lions.
Women's basketball's winning at the moment.